What's up YouTube, this is Alex from Team Satisfactory coming at you with my Prophecy deck profile. This is still my pretty much favorite deck of all time. I love this deck since it was broken, since it's been average, since it's been good. And after Burning Abyss, Qliphorts, and Necros all took slight hits, I think, or actually no, they took varying degrees of hits. Qliphorts got smashed, BA got neutered, and Necros got like a little slap on the wrist saying, yeah, stop, you're a little too powerful, stop that. But overall, I think this deck can be like good. Like its best matchups were always Shaddolls and Tellarknights, and seeing as how those two are probably going to start seeing more prominence, I have faith in this deck to be really good again. So let's get started. I'm still running the Priestess build, so not a whole lot has changed. You're on 3 Spellbook, Magician of Prophecy. This guy is like he's your little blue boy. He's your searcher of the deck, your little baby Stratos. Mandatory run of 3, very good, very consistent. You want to open him or his secrets every game. 3 Justice of Prophecy, still a great way. It's a +1 on it's a +1 during the end phase, and if you attack over a monster, which you usually can, it's a +2. So I actually really like running Justice. Gives you a High Priestess and like a Spellbook, good for searching, good for deck thinning. And then I ran out the last of my monsters with 3 High Priestess. She's your boss monster. She prevents you from going into the extra deck, which you don't have to do, which lets you beat a lot of decks pretty handily, and gives you a great Shaddol matchup because they can't use their fusions if you don't use your extra deck. And that's the 9 monsters I run. I cut down a bit on the monsters because I just think some books need other cards more. Spells, you run 3 Spellbook of Secrets. Mandatory, he's this is not a he, but it's a book. It's your searcher. This card plus Magician cuts your deck down to a 34 card deck. So mandatory to run 3 of these. Moving on from that, we have 3 Spellbook Library of the Crescent. This card makes me rage sometimes because you draw it late game and you're like, what the fuck am I going to do with this? But early game, this is a really good card to open up, especially with Prophecy. Justice, excuse me. Almost on Justice, play this. And then you hope your opponent gives you something like a Secrets or a Master to play with. Because this card, it helps make opening hands better, but it can also give you the card you don't want. So 3 is a mandatory run. I'd run, not mandatory, I'd run at least 2 in the opening deck, because you can side deck it out pretty easily. But overall, it's good for opening plays and consistency. 2 Spellbook of the Master. This card is, basically, he's your copier. He copies books at the cost of revealing a book, but he can copy secrets, he can copy wisdom, he can also copy, and he can't copy wisdom, but he can copy power, which is the play that I didn't use enough earlier. If you use Master to copy power, you get a 2000 attack point boost onto a monster, in addition to it getting 2 searches after a battle destruction. So it turns a destruction by battle into a +3 for you, which is honestly pretty overwhelming for your opponent a lot of the time. So Master's around a 2, 3 is cloggy, so I won't run 3. 2 power, the more I play Prophecy, the more I really love power. It just basically gives you like battle is destruction at a +1. Battle destruction with power is battle at a +2 because you kill the monster and then you get a book. So power is honestly a card I would run. I love running it 2. Wouldn't run 3 because you don't need 3 and because you can recycle it or search the other one, but I run power at 2 all the time. Wisdom at 2. This is just a good anti-back row card. Your opponent's like, oh, I'm gonna blunt to a bottomless trap hole your High Priestess, and you say Wisdom. Then they cry, and then you blow up their monster, their other back row, and you self-priestess some void to power or something. Good card, and it keeps your boss monster alive. 2 Eternity. You need this to put stuff you banished for Fate or Priestess back in the hand. It's not a great card on its own, but you need it to keep the deck rolling, so you run 2 of them. 2 High Tower. This card got or Grand Tower, excuse me. This card got a reprint, so I think Prophecy should be a lot cheaper now. But Grand Tower is necessary. Basically, if Grand Tower, I haven't lost a game pretty much where I've had Grand Tower for 3 turns or more running because it's a +1 every standby phase. And if you load up the books in the graveyard, your opponent like MSTs it, you can summon a Priestess or a really big creature off of it. And so it's basically the longer the game goes on, the more powerful Prophecy becomes because they just generate so much card advantage every turn that basically Prophecy has to be beaten in 1 or 2 turns or they will outgrind you. Now for the 1-ofs, you run 1 life because it resummons your boss monster at the cost of banishing a blue boy. You will pretty much always have a blue boy or Justice engraved to sacrifice for a Priestess, and it can be recycled, so you only need to run 1 because more than 1's pretty cloggy. And then you run the 1 Fate, arguably one of the best cards Konami has ever created for the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Fate has 3 effects, all of them are good, and this card it banishes without targeting, which is one of the greatest things Konami's ever invented, and that's why it's at 1.
If it came back to 2, I think Prophecy would be a genuinely like overpowered deck again in the current format. But like as the recent ban list was like I'm gonna call it the great equalizing ban list. I think Konami doesn't need to put it to 2 anymore because a lot of the deck got slowed down pretty tremendously. So Prophecy can now play at their pace and beat other decks again. Moving on to non-spellbook cards. 2 MST. I like this card too in pretty much every deck. I can't run 3 because I need other cards a lot more. And because Fate can also kill back row cards and whatnot, but I run 2 MST, and that was a good number. 1 Book of Moon. I said before, it rewards skillful play. Would like to see it. See it pretty much every deck. Love it. And then 1 Raigeki. Nukes boards. You can OTK in this deck, but nuking boards is very beneficial, period. And that rounds out the massive spellbook lineup for spell lineup for spellbooks. After that, I run more traps now because I realize Prophecy only loses if it gets beaten quickly. So I'll run traps to stop that. But first, you run 3 Reckless Greed. Tower gives you the extra draw on the standby phase, so you basically don't take the negative side of Reckless Greed. And the number of times I've drawn, then drawn with Tower, and then Reckless Greeded, it's just 4 cards at the beginning of your turn, which is sometimes like what you need to get a Prophecy out on board, or to start off your search plays again. So basically, getting 4 cards in your standby phase, or 2 or 3 in, or 2 in their end phase, and then 1 in your standby phase, can be really, really beneficial, and it's a great card to run this deck because you don't have to suffer the negatives. 1 Compulse, it's my favorite trap card. I love it. 1 Bottomless, really good card, stops their plays. 1 Solemn Warning for stop more plays, and then I run 3 Fiendish Chain now. In my basically, I said before, Prophecy only loses to like quick murders for sprees. So I decided, okay, I will put Fiendish Chain to try to slow down my enemies' combos, and after hopefully I can stop their combo in its tracks, and then have a rebuttal with Priestess or a Spellbook of sorts. So basically, with this lineup, I have plenty of traps in that one, and I also run Fate, which is like basically the best quick play spell in the game. So with these 3, the Fate and the Book of Moon, or with these cards, the Fate and Book of Moon, I feel a lot safer now. I feel like I can make the game play more to my pace. That rounds out the main deck. The extra deck, as I said before, is pretty trivial. You don't really need it. It's just for flavor and for like getting a few random cards out there with your 2s. So my extra deck consists of Daigusto Phoenix, really good for getting 3k damage out of 2 blue boys. Shining Elf, he's a spellcaster level 2, pretty helpful sometimes. 1 Herald of Pure Light, he actually lets you recycle your blue boys, so I actually really like running him, and then because I run Double Downer Magician, I can turn Herald of Light into a good monster after I've used its really good effect. 1 So Cute Boss, just because I think it's a pretty funny card and it can blow up little monsters. Don't really need to run it, but I just like having it. I think it's kind of cute. It's also a spellcaster. 2 Gachi Gachi, if you're losing, you need to hunker down. And then Hierophant of Prophecy. This card is just fantastic because it lets you nuke all their back row if you haven't done that already. I also run Dragosec and a Big Eye, but I'm loaning them to a friend out for this weekend, so I can't give you those. But I run them, and I have 1 of each. I think they're good cards overall, and I would like to. I'd like to see them in the current game where just like 7s are getting a really good pool once again, but just they're banning all the good 7s. Okay, everyone, that rounds out my Prophecy deck profile for April 1st, 2015 ban list. Let me know what you guys think about this deck and whether or not you think Prophecy is a deck that has a chance in the upcoming format. Don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. And this is Team Satisfactory, out.